Welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm joined once again with Benjamin Fulford, a crowd favorite. Benjamin, thank you so much for joining me once again. Everyone loves your updates, man. We got to know what's going on. First of all, let's talk about the Trump indictment. I mean, what's going to happen? What are you hearing through the grapevine? What's the whispers behind the scenes? What's going to happen here with Trump, Benjamin?
Well, everything I'm hearing, I mean, if you look at the actual indictment, it's patent nonsense, right? I mean,
Right.
he's taking supposedly presidential documents to his house. Well, every ex-president is allowed to do that. So what I've heard from my sources is that this is a deliberate attempt to create a precedent so that they can go after Biden. They say, hey, look, you went
Oh,
after
wait.
Trump.
You're saying this is a white hat move?
Yeah. In other words, they're deliberately charging Trump with nonsense, so they have a legal precedent where a
Holy shit.
indicted. So it's a trap.
Hold on, time out. I know everyone's getting mad because I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry. But that's incredible. I was thinking that. Could this be a white hat move? They're trying to get him on espionage. They can't get him on that, correct?
No, I mean he's a president. He's allowed to do all that kind of stuff. I mean,
And the judge is a handpicked judge from him, right? It's a Trump appointee.
yeah, no, if they were really after Trump, okay, they would have come up with something a lot more serious, be it true or not. Something like raping a 13-year-old, which I've heard charges thrown against him, something like that. So the fact that they're hitting him with a big nothing burger and something that Biden is obviously guilty of because they found all his documents in his garage and stuff, right? So they're just saying, hey, if you can do it, then we can do it. That's very clear on that one.
So Biden's got to know, Obama's got to know. The dogs are after him. They're coming.
Yeah, and I think
Well,
we know that the Biden administration is really just another Obama administration. That's probably because as you know, Obama married a transsexual, and that's why they're pushing all this
transgender stuff.
LGBTQ and all the other stuff, and the whole agenda is just not in line with mainstream America, and it's not it's clearly an Obama thing, and so they're going after Obama, and more to the point, they're going after the Rockefellers because again, if you look at the entire Biden so-called cabinet, they're all members of the Council on Foreign Relations, which is a Rockefeller, employee gathering spot. So it's going after them, and they're big fish because they actually own the UN, they own the Fortune 500. They hide behind all sorts of different names, but I've identified as members of the Rockefeller: Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Mark Zuckerberg, John Podesta, Jen Psaki. They're all like part of this clan that has kind of turned the United States into a privately owned corporation, and that's what we're trying to bankrupt.
This is something that I thought about, and right now I'm not gonna say you blew my mind, but I'm like, wow, I was thinking about that. You're actually saying this was a white hat move to indict Trump so he can go after everyone else. So that's why he's just he looks very confident, like nothing's really bothering him. I mean,
Yeah,
he looks like easy peasy, man. Like he's very confident going into this. So you're telling me this is a
yeah,
white hat move so they can open the door and go after Biden and Obama and everybody. Biden
and they're
and Obama
also
and all them, they've got to know this is happening. What can they do to stop it? What I mean, I don't understand here. Like, what is their next move?
well. I mean, they're going to try to still. The thing is, if they try to actually carry through with this and try to actually arrest Trump, recent photographs of him in Florida show that he has military protection, not the Secret Service, but actual military type. So that's a clear sign that if it comes to a fight, the people with the guns are behind Trump. So this is, I don't see a really good way out for them on this. Uh, all I can think is they're going to try to start something outside of the United States to distract people's attention from the problems inside the United States, some kind of war, some kind of
Taiwan,
incident. Yeah.
Taiwan, because right now Biden is. Before we touch on Taiwan, hold on. I just want to. Are you saying this whole LGBTQ agenda? I know it's backed by Soros and non-governmental agencies, right? But are you also telling me it's kind of preparing the public for the big reveal of Big Mike?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, the thing about it is that what the problem has always been that they make these people do something in the closet and then they blackmail them about it. So if they come out and say, yeah, okay, then they can't be blackmailed about it anymore. But the fact that they keep it secret, so for example, Emmanuel Macron is married to an older man pretending to be Brigitte Macron, and they film them all having homosexual sex. Like I've heard that Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of the UK, was first to be filmed having sex with Macron and Trudeau before they would let him take the job because they want to have something to blackmail these people about. But for me, the real reason for all this LGBTQ stuff is really more like they're trying to discourage us from having sex of the sort that actually creates children.
Right. So that's the bigger agenda here.
Yeah, it's a bigger agenda. It's a depopulation agenda. They're trying to get us all to do something to take our sexual urges and send them down a blind alley. Because whatever you can say about homosexuality, the fact is they can't create children.
Right. They don't reproduce, they recruit.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, and it's just part of a long-term agenda they've had. This is going back decades.
It's demonic. It's completely demonic. So you're saying a big distraction, and the only distraction I can think of, it seems like they're running out of lifelines with the Ukraine, right? Russia's kicking their ass. Taiwan next, is that what you're saying? Because there's a lot of military exercises happening right now, and it seems like they want to take the magnifying glass away from the House hearings. They are trying to do it with the Trump indictment. And it looks like, so he's probably going to beat that. So the next distraction, what you're saying, is Taiwan.
Yeah, to prevent the removal of Biden by either the U.S. military or by bankruptcy, they are probably, I mean, the problem with Taiwan, though, is that the U.S. military has carried out exercise after exercise, and they always lose. Even though, and then the Chinese, they went and they actually published exercises they had where they showed that all it would take was 20 hypersonic missiles to destroy the U.S. Carrier fleet. So anything they try on Taiwan is a bluff, and they would lose. That's what they know. So I don't, and the other thing is that the Taiwanese are Chinese. There's a population of 20 million. A million of them are in mainland China. A million mainland Chinese are in Taiwan. And the only people in Taiwan pushing for independence are a small group of U.S. Trained people. They don't represent Taiwan, and so it's a non-starter. I mean, they're going to try to push it, but it's not going to work. And
they're running out of cards.
They really are. And the business in the Ukraine, as you know, the so-called Great Offensive fizzled out. And what people still need to understand here is that the war in the Ukraine is not a war between government armies. It's a war between the Russian government army and privately hired mercenaries working for the oligarchs who own the central banks. And they're able to buy used military equipment from around the world and hire people, but they don't have a real army. They don't have an air force. It's not a real war. It's more of a big money laundering operation. My sources tell me that 3/4 of the weapons being sent to the Ukraine is going to be sold elsewhere, including to the Mexican cartels. So the whole thing is fake. And now the Ukrainians have actually filed treason charges against Vladimir Zelensky. Because if you're a real commander, you don't send your troops against a superior enemy to die at a ratio of 8-1. They go in there, and Bakhmut, they were dying within 4 hours. That can only happen, and I confirmed this with the Russians, that the Wagner mercenary company and Zelensky both work for the same people, which is the Chabad cult, who want to, create an artificial Armageddon, kill 90% of humanity, and enslave the rest. And they're both working for those people, and they're basically genociding Ukrainian men so they can enslave the women. And this is coming out. Even the Ukrainians have figured it out, and they're rebelling. They don't like the Russians, but they don't like the fact that the Russian leadership they have that's pretending to be Korean, to be Ukrainian, is killing Ukrainians.
Right. So it's only a matter of time before Zelensky and Biden are gone. I mean, it seems that way to me.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
go ahead.
Canada's Justin Trudeau too. There was a military tribunal in Canada where they presented evidence that the whole, that the COVID thing was, first of all, the vaccines weren't safety tested, and that the PCR testing they used to justify the lockdowns were fraudulent, and that makes Justin Trudeau a war criminal. What did he do? He zoomed off to the Ukraine, where he was told he was not welcome. And let's see if he comes back. It's a good bet that he won't be back in Canada.
He's in the Ukraine right now?
Yeah. He fled.
So he's in trouble.
Canada.
He with her because he's in trouble?
Yeah, he's in trouble. You can't go in public.
I didn't know he left the Ukraine.
Yeah. And that was not planned. It was like he was just running to that little illegal enclave they have there for their money laundering and their.
I would imagine as soon as they know the heat starts to, which it probably already is, the heat's intensifying. When are they all going to just start scattering and getting out of the country and leaving?
Well, let's see. But there's a lot of people who have suddenly vanished. Okay, Nicola Sturgeon, who ran Scotland and tried to go independent, has been criminally charged for misusing £600,000. Whatever, she took a bribe. And then Boris COVID Johnson, has been forced to resign as a member of parliament. That means that his immunity is gone, and they can now criminally charge him. And King Charles, who took over exactly 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days after Queen Elizabeth was murdered, has gone to Transylvania, where his ancestor Vlad the Impaler Dracula comes from, for a walking tour, i.e. he's out of contact, and he didn't bring his wife. So what does that tell you?
So what's going on in Transylvania? He's going into hiding. Is that where he's going?
Well, it's a good guess. I mean, the fact that he's on a walking tour means that he's unavailable. So what's going on there?
This is fascinating because this is what I kind of suspected behind the scenes, but I'm like, I don't have the balls to say that to my audience. But this is kind of like what I'm feeling, and you're kind of like, wow, you're making a lot of sense to me right now.
Well, but the point is that this is in their own corporate media. The problem is that, for example, I was told almost a decade ago by Dick Cheney that they had killed George Soros, right? And then his family announced that they were dividing up their inheritance. They had a public announcement. And suddenly, for the next 10 years, suddenly Soros starts appearing again in the media. It's obviously computer graphics, and I can prove it. But the point is that as long as they have this avatar appearing on all your screens, it doesn't matter if the real man is dead. The point here is that now they are saying they're gone. So we have George Soros' son, Alex, saying he's taken over. So now,
I saw that in an article just a couple of days ago.
And then you have Mark Zuckerberg Rockefeller saying that they censored COVID information. He's publicly admitted to being a war criminal. So that's all coming out. This is in their media. It's not, on the alternative or the truth media. They're saying it. That's what makes it different. So we have seen a big new round of people vanishing or being removed.
And I would imagine very soon we're going to see a lot of homicides and suicides.
Well, when they end the Biden show, and we all know that it's just an actor, but the point is that when they arrest the people putting on that show and publicly end it, that will be a really big sign. And that's what they're fighting tooth and nail to prevent.
That's what the other side is fighting tooth and nail to prevent, right?
Yeah, and I don't like to give dates because, they come and go, and then you get but I have been told by two different people that June 18th is the day to watch for Biden. We'll see. And I know that I
saw that he's going in for a root canal at the White House. Who knows?
Yeah, root canal.
I mean, who knows? Does he die? And I mean, who knows?
A new clone. Who knows? Eh?
Yeah, I mean, so it seems to me like since we've taken out Pelosi, they were trying to put Pelosi in place of Biden at some point. That's been removed. Kamala can't do it. They're trying to figure out a way to put in Newsom, it looks like. What do you think? What's their options here? How are they going to pull this off if they can?
Well, I don't see what they can do. I
I
think
don't
they
know.
really are cornered. I mean, okay, they can put Kevin McCarthy in and then take out all their blackmail cards they must have him, but on him. But he's already, he went through 15 rounds of voting. In other words, some very serious horse trading before they let him into
So
that spot.
he's controlled by Trump, by proxy, right?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I mean, he so uh I don't see what cards they have to play. I know that they're trying to send their Secretary of State Anthony Blinken to China, and they're announcing it. And, oh yeah, Blinken's going to China, but then the Chinese foreign ministry says no, he's not. In other words, we're not taking their calls because all they're going to do is ask for money, and we don't want to give them any more money because they're mass murderers.
So they're in deep shit right now, and people aren't seeing this. I mean, people see arrogance on television, they see the competence, but really, what you're saying behind the scenes, and I can assume this, they're in deep shit, and they know it. Now
Oh
they're
yeah,
the walls are closing in on them. I mean, when do you think I want to know this in your opinion. When did the realization really set in? Is it now? Was it three few months back, or is it really setting in right now?
I think that they put a lot of hope in their big pandemic campaign. They've been working on this since the 1970s, and their idea was to vaccinate everybody with some kind of mind control, DNA altering thing, and then force them to have digital ID and digital currency. In other words, they're trying to set up a complete animal farm, and it blew up in their faces. It failed, and what I'm hearing is they're now down to their last card, which is some kind of alien event they've
I
been
was
working
just
on
going to
for
go to that.
decades.
Yeah,
Operation.
the aliens already landed in Las Vegas. You see
Yeah,
that?
I looked at that report, but well, I'd like to see a video of the actual aliens. You know what I mean?
But I mean, I wouldn't trust it anyway. It's all bullshit. I mean,
I
I don't,
know, and then
whatever.
they have this guy, widely quoted saying that they reverse engineered all these things, but this is, it's appearing in all the big newspapers, but again, it's just people talking. I'd like to see them, park these UFOs, these flying saucers in front of government buildings around the country so that everybody can go downtown and take a look for themselves, and maybe
Right. But I
take
mean, could they be
joy rides.
holograms? I mean, could they do that and they be holograms in the sky? Do they have the technology to do that?
They have the hologram technology. That's the point. I want to, and I've been asking for a long time. I talk to these secret space agency people, and I say, well, I want to ride a flying saucer. Put me in one. I want to get in it and see it, and they haven't been able to do that.
This is insane. This is absolutely insanity, man. So, okay, so now they're playing the alien card. I know that. So, what's going to happen with the banks, Benjamin? It looks like the House of Cards have got to fall, and they can't fall on Trump's watch. They got to fall on Biden's watch. So, when do
Yeah.
you see this happening?
Well,
I
okay.
think this is all going to happen before election cycle 24, right? I mean, it seems that way.
Maybe I was a reporter right on the front lines when the Japanese bubble burst, and it's very similar. If you do the math, you know that they're all bankrupt. Okay, so they've spent a couple of decades getting all these bonds and everything else at 1%. Okay, and now the interest rate is 5%. That means everything they have is worth like half what it was. That means they're all bankrupt. Mathematically, there's no doubt about it. But they're pretending it didn't happen and hiding the books. But the reality is there. So they cannot get around it without rebooting the financial system. And all they're doing is pretending nothing's wrong, but it's not working. So, for example, once again, they can't buy stuff from the rest of the world. The ports have seized up again. And they're saying it's because of labor strikes, but it's because they're not paying their bills. And it's just, and then the other thing that's happening is people are taking their money out of bank accounts, which is a very wise thing to do because at the end of the day, that's just numbers on a computer. They can delete those, when they do some kind of big reset. So you take the money out and you buy something like an antique car, house, gold,
Yeah.
anything that really exists, and that's what people are doing. And they're pretending that people aren't, taking their money out of their banking system. by putting new numbers in, but that's just not real. It's just numbers. It's not the real world. And that's what they're losing. They're losing control of the real world. Because remember, a dollar bill is just a piece of paper, and it's only worth something if you turn it into a beer. And if you can't do that, then it's just a piece of paper.
Right. So what's this I'm hearing about Bill Gates and the new pandemic that they're planning for 2025? I'm hearing they've kicked the can down the road a little bit, and now they're planning for 2025. Are you hearing anything on that?
I'm hearing a lot of that. They're doing everything they can to try to buy time until 2025. And I have heard from MI6 that they are still trying to start an all-out nuclear war or do something. So they're saying, just give us a bit more time so that we can kill you, and then we don't have to pay you back, you know? And of course, nobody.
So we really are in a race against time right now.
Yeah, we got to finish them off before they're allowed to do that. And that's why they tried to buy this time until 2025. They and then I got an email this morning from the so-called alien disclosure people saying, look, we're going to disclose everything in 2026, so just give us until then. It's like, why not now? Well, why 2026? What are you trying to buy time for? Nobody trusts these people because they lie.
And they called you to tell you this?
Well, this is an email, but it's obviously coming from them because of the nature of the content that was in it,
Saying that they want till 2026 to disclose the alien info?
Yeah. So they're trying to.
In other words, they're hoping they could have that much time to play the alien card.
Yeah, and they are trying to start nuclear war before then. I know that Medvedev in Russia works with them. He's not with the Russian people, unlike the people around Putin, which is the Russian Orthodox Church. Because he's out there, so they have people in Russia too who are trying to get this nuclear war started. They had people in Iran and Israel trying to get this nuclear war started. They're desperate. And the thing about these people is that they're religious fanatics. They actually believe that it's their God-given destiny to kill 90% of humanity and enslave the rest. They're fanatics, and you cannot argue or debate with these people based on facts. They won't accept them. They have to be removed.
They're psychopaths. They're absolute psychopaths. No different than a serial killer.
Yeah, and they're religious fanatics, too. They think it's some kind of divine right that they have to enslave the rest of humanity.
Satanic, right? They're satanic to the core.
Yeah.
It's their bloodline, correct?
They have been enslaving people literally for thousands of years. I studied this history, and again, I only studied it because they actually invited me to join them. I never thought about it before then, but way back in ancient Mesopotamia, Sumer, Iraq, there was these people who started farming, and what happened is they had a huge increase in population, but they were malnourished. They were small and they were malnourished. Then you had these herders. They were, drinking milk and eating meat and herding sheep, and they're big and strong. There weren't a lot of them, but they figured out that they know how to herd grass-eating animals, so they can herd grass-eating humans or bread-eating humans. And they've been basically, controlling humans like herd animals for literally thousands of years.
So you're saying that's how it all began?
Yeah. That's where it goes back to. And they appear,
like in the Fertile Crescent? Is that where you're referring to?
Yeah. They're referred to as the Hyksos by the Egyptians.
So hold on, wait a second. So there were bigger people that could overpower the smaller people. That would kind of go with the giants type of thing, right? And they started herding people back then.
Yeah, basically.
Stay behind the scenes.
That's right. And again, if you look at the Bible, where gets the 10 Commandments, right? So the so-called God lives among them, and he asks for gold and silver and sheepskin dyed red and aroma oil. And you're thinking, wait a minute, if this is the God who created the universe, couldn't he just conjure that up? And so it really does go back. For me, that was when the Jewish people were enslaved by these herders. And then you see their leaders being smoked one after another being killed.
So who are the herders? Who are the herders? What bloodline is that?
Well, that's what I think the Rothschilds claim to be of that bloodline. The Satan worshiping faction of the Jews. They're not actually Jews, but they worship these ancient gods. They were known as Baal or Molech or Set, and then Setan, and that's where our word Satan comes from. So, and they're not Jews, but many of the Jews have been their slaves for millennia, literally.
This is incredible. You're giving me a lot more here than I thought. So, wow. So let's just retract this for a second. So as we wrap this up, I know you don't like to stay long on these interviews.
Mm-hmm.
The Biden show. When do you think this is going to end? If you had to guess, I mean, who's going to take Biden out? Is it going to be the Democrats or the White Hats?
It's going to have to be the White Hats. And the point is, again, and you know, as far as I can tell, it's not happening in Washington, D.C. It's happening in Amazon Studios. It's happening in the CNN complex in Atlanta, the AT&T, and it's happening in Silicon Valley. So that's where they need to send in the troops to shut this whole show down. But the best guess is that there's going to be a lot of chaos and turbulence. I mean, I'm hoping there's going to be a smooth transition, but the general story I'm hearing is that we have to let them implode before it's possible to.
But hold on, the Black Hats are in charge of the show, correct? Not the White Hats. The White Hats are letting it go on, but it's the Black Hats that are using the CGI and the Biden actors, right?
That's right, and okay. they're the ones who are trying to keep all this going. But if you look at their vision of the world, it's just horrific. They're just fear mongering. They're saying, "Oh, climate change is going to kill us all. So we've got to pay us a carbon tax, and AI is going to kill us all. So we have to control AI, i.e., control your minds, you know. And we got to keep fighting Russia." They don't say, what kind of world do we want to live in? What kind of future do we want? How do we make this planet better? How do we have world peace? You know, how do we stop environmental? They don't talk about that. They're just fear mongering, and it's all about keeping in control. And the good news is that most of the world has abandoned them. If you look at the BRICS, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and stuff, really at this point, they're down to their puppets control only Canada, the US, France, Holland, Germany, and the UK. That's it. They're down to that. And they're about to lose that. I think they're about to lose Canada. And I know that MI6 is trying to remove them there too in England. And the French, as you know, are to this day in daily revolt. Macron cannot appear in public without being hung from a lamppost. The same with Trudeau. And I think even Biden can't actually appear before a real audience of real Americans. If he showed up at a big football stadium, I bet the mob would grab him.
Everyone hates him, man.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: so what do you think these wildfires in Canada were all about?
Well, Canada had a military tribunal, and immediately after that, 500 wildfires started simultaneously. The conditions were dry, so it was a good time to do it. But there's videos of helicopters with flamethrowers. There's arsonists have been arrested, you know, and it was clearly not natural. But fortunately, and again, this is I'm not saying it happened, but the Algonquin had a 3-day powwow and it did a big rain dance. And maybe it's just a coincidence, but immediately after that, huge rain came and put out the fires.
A hand of God.
Yeah.
So do you really believe that Trudeau's not going to go back to Canada? He's in exile.
I'm hoping so. I know that he left after the military tribunal made it.
So the White Hats had a military tribunal in Canada?
Yes, they did. I actually testified there. And these were real Canadians, not, you know, real people with actual government experience and real military. So I do believe that his goose is cooked, but you know, you cannot underestimate these people, and they do have a lot of very high-level people. What the thing you got to understand is they control the very tip top, and that's what you got to worry about. It's going to be the colonels who are going to fix this, not the generals and not the presidents. I hate to say that, but they only control the very highest level. They always, you know, compromise at that level with either bribery or blackmail or, you know, whatever. And just below that level is where they no longer control. And that's where we're going to have to be to overthrow them. So you know, everybody can.
Your intel, the Biden show is almost done. It's pretty much done. If we just keep on the gas, we keep steady and keep going, this show's done.
I certainly hope so. And it certainly looks that way. It's looking very, very iffy. But, you know, it's not over till it's over. and never underestimate these people. We have to
because they're suicidal. They're going to take everything down with them. They don't care, correct?
Yeah, they call it their Samson option. Where it takes down the whole temple and they die with it. They're desperate and they're dangerous and they're cornered, and we must be careful. We must not give them any chance to destroy the planet. And but it's looking
wild, man.
It's looking good. This is the best. It's really looking like this time may finally do it. But again, each time this happens, they do something like I thought in 2020, and then they did this whole pandemic thing. And so let's see. But I know they got their big alien space show due for August. So I would say sit back and enjoy it, but don't get scared about anything. Just it's not
you're gonna say, I know you're not good on dates, but you don't want to predict things. But you're saying about August is when we'll see the big.
I was told by my contacts in the secret space program that August is when they're having the big event, and you can see in their corporate media a whole rash of UFO stories coming out. So
yeah, I see it. So how do we fight against that? How do we wake up the people? A lot of people are going to fall for that.
The anarchist motto I like is we shall defeat them with a laugh. Just enjoy the show, but don't get fooled by it. And that
but people like us, but our audience is minimal. I mean, really, there's gonna be millions of people that fall for this shit.
Well, I think that the example of Japan and Germany right before the end of World War II is that their media is saying, oh, Germany's got these new super weapons. We're on the verge of victory. And the Japanese are saying that. And suddenly weeks later, it's over. So it's a bit like that. And for the average person, I'm afraid they're going to have to wait until it's actually on all their screens before they understand it. But I believe that at this point, there's a critical mass at this point. So, for example, 59% of Americans say the media is truly the enemy of the people. That's a sign of a mass awakening. So I don't think it's the tiny amount anymore. Tucker Carlson was getting like 2 million views on Fox, and then he went to Twitter and he got like 100 million views. And that's a critical mass. I don't think they can put the genie back in the bottle this time. But the key is still the military. It's the men with the guns who are going to have to come in, because the civilian government has been taken over by transnational criminals. And it's going to be the colonels who are going to have to do this.
Will you be willing to come back for another update soon?
Sure, absolutely. I'll be in Canada, by the way, from July 25th to August 31st. And for the first few weeks, I don't do email. I don't do phones. I don't do. I go
there for the triangles or what?
I'm just going to be in the wilderness, fishing and swimming.
Okay, all right. Benjamin, thank you so much. Where can people find you?
BenjaminFulford.net. Please support our work by subscribing, and I don't think you'll regret it. Thank you for letting me plug that.
All right. God bless you, Ben. Take care.
Yeah, bye.